In a front-page investigation today, the New York Times went to every state looking for evidence of fraud and found none.
You have Democrats in this article, Republicans in this article, election officials all across America saying no widespread fraud.
They've got nothing. There are two recurrent faults in these complaints. One, the numbers of ballots that they're talking about, if they're even talking about specific ballots at all, are minuscule. 53 votes here, a couple hundred votes there. Number two, they just don't have the proof.
We keep hearing the drumbeat of where is the evidence? Right here, Sean. 234 pages of sworn affidavits. These are real people, real allegation.
Fox's Laura Ingraham interviewed a woman who says she was a Nevada poll worker.
As I got closer, the envelopes were being torn open. There were two people dropping the envelopes and two people ripping them open and turning and facing the van and drawing on them.
Thank you guys for coming in and watching Truth with Fire. I am your host, James, and here I could perfectly understand that you may be a little bit confused what's going on with the news. One side of the news is basically saying there is no fraud, and then the other side of the news is saying there is fraud. Well, I believe that this video is going to confirm that there is fraud. I have a lot of video clips that I want you guys to see, and then you guys take a decision on what you may think. You could comment, you could share, you could like, you could do whatever you like. Anyways, let's get started.
A Democrat whistleblower working for the board in Detroit has come forward and has given evidence of days and days of fraud. Preparation for it, backdating of votes, going into the polling place with people, showing them how to vote, taking votes of people that weren't registered, and then actually going to the registrar book and registering at the time. She observed all of this. She was disgusted with it. She's a Democrat. She's come forward. She's given us an affidavit, and she's at the heart of the Democratic case that we have, which will be filed in Lansing, Michigan, which will show that well more than the margin of victory are illegal votes.
So the person that you just heard, that is Trump's attorney. He is, to me, one of the best attorneys I have ever seen in the United States. And he has a witness who is a Democrat. This person is not even a Republican at all. Okay, it's not even a Trump supporter. And she saw all the things that was going on inside of all of the votings, and she was disgusted. And now she is coming up forward, signing an affidavit and willing to go into the court to prove that there was fraud that was committed. Now, if you think there was no fraud, there's even more evidence, and he has a lot more to say. Check this out.
Evidence of fraud. When they tell you there is no hard evidence of fraud, they are lying. Affidavits are evidence of fraud. Affidavits, again I say, are evidence of fraud. They are lying to you as they have been for 4 years. The American news media is now a propaganda outlet of the Democrat Party. This is evidence of fraud. Maybe true, maybe not true. Has to be tested in court. But this is called evidence. And we have to get around them, around the iron curtain of silence, to tell you, the American people, the truth.
That is right. That's the reason why a lot of the news that are not reporting it, because they are being paid off or they are working with the Democrats. And so all of the information that is being pushed in the media has been false. This is the reason why you have to go around it, and you have to go to open source news like Truth with Fire and other places to actually gain the truth. Because if you don't have the truth, you cannot make the decisions. And if you continue to watch all of this crazy news that has been going on, they kind of like brainwash you, make you think that it's one thing when in reality it is the other. It is amazing, because even many's life have been destroyed because of this. And this guy put it the worst, even perfectly better. I need you to watch this.
Accused of all sorts of things and being threatened with losing their jobs, losing their reputation, losing their families, and not being allowed in polite society. This is what our liberal community has come to. It's come to a bunch of bullies who believe they have the truth, and any method can be used. Voter fraud, framing a president, defaming a human being, destroying General Flynn's life, destroying Carter Page's life, destroying the president as much as possible and his family. All of that is necessary because they can bring us to wonderful socialism. Well, in any event, we're past that now. We're at the counting process. We're in the courts of the United States, the greatest courts in the world. And I predict that we have a voter fraud theft of the century. Never happened before like this in America, at least not modern America. There's a concerted effort in those states to use these mail ballots to make up the difference, knowing that Trump was going to win. And the reason it took so long is Trump won by more than they thought. They never thought they'd have to make up 700,000 or 800,000 votes in Pennsylvania. And that's why it got so sloppy. On election night, the Democrats panicked, and that's what led them into making mistakes like this, where the votes were all over the streets. And the votes are brought in at 4 a.m. And just Biden, quick, it had to be done quick. You couldn't fill out the rest of the ballot. You didn't have the time. I mean, if we woke up in the morning and Trump was still ahead by 500,000 votes, it would have been kind of really unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So don't listen to the phony fake media. Listen to the alternative media. You know, go around it. Use your common sense. Your common sense is going to lead you to a just result.
That was 100% the truth. You have to use common sense. You cannot just listen to all this garbage without doing any research or Googling or looking into things. I mean, if you see the massive amount of corruption that has been going on, it has been amazing, bro. This thing has been off the scale so bad that 2020 election happens to be one of the worst elections in the American history. The worst. This has been more fraud ever done, more scam, more lies, more censoring from even the social media. We can even post something in Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anything without even being censored. They're trying to silence the truth. They're trying to hide it. They're trying to lie. They make an excuse every time something that comes up. I mean, it has been amazing. But if you even think that this is bad, man, you have no idea what China is doing to America. Wait till you see how they meddle in the election of the United States. This is going to be mind-blowing. Check this out.
Mr. Mayor, another question for you. Have you had any contact with anyone in the U.S. intelligence community about any of these election irregularities?
I don't think I can comment on that. There is no question. Another aspect of this was the vote interfered with from the point of view of the computers that were used? Mm-hmm. And does Dominion figure very big in that situation, given the fact that it uses Chinese software and has a rather checkered history?
So every time an attorney says that they cannot speak about this matter, basically what they are saying is that there is a criminal investigation that is going on and they are not allowed to speak about it. So that means that there is an investigation already going on about this matter. But what makes it even worse is who the person is involved in this. And once again, the witch of the United States, Mrs. Hillary Clinton.
Another aspect of the Dominion software company that escaped the notice of most. Dominion's ties to the Clinton Foundation. Penelope Chester-Starr is the communications manager for Dominion voting systems. Prior to coming to Dominion, she worked for the Clinton Growth Initiative and was vice president for Teneo. Teneo was the firm started to help manage Bill and Hillary Clinton's foreign businesses and booked their personal speaking engagements. Even more disturbing, there appears to be a formal partnership between the Clinton Initiative and Dominion voting systems. But back to just one example of many, Chester-Starr also helped organize a 2017 Women's March against Trump and is a rabid anti-Trumper working for a vote-counting company. one that claims to be the leading supplier of election technology across Canada and the U.S. The question is, how many more anti-Trump activists and former Clinton allies work for or affect the Dominion software company, the company that accidentally flipped thousands of votes from Trump to Biden in key swing states?
Did you guys just hear that? Did you guys just hear that? It is unbelievable that a massive amount of fraud that was actually committed. Now, let me explain to you about Domain. Domain is a voting system, okay? It is being used within, according to the website, 33 states. Also in Brazil, they're also in use in Canada, okay? Now, this Domain system voting machine, okay, has a Chinese software that is being used in that. Now, that is being manipulated and is flipping the Biden's, well, from Trump to Biden, and it keeps on flipping. And that's why in the election, it shows that Joe Biden won. Unfortunately, it wasn't Joe Biden. It was actually Trump. That's why I have predicted that Trump is going to win the presidency, and he will remain in office for the next 4 years. However, Joe Biden is going to win the election by fraud. Now, if you think that this is bad, wait until you hear what this guy is going to be explaining.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Well, I think I just rested my case. Now, every single day, there's more news and more news and more news, and I'm trying to keep up with everything. I have found in Twitter a lot of videos of people grabbing the Melon Valley, and they're breaking and tearing it every time is a Trump supporter. I have found them in the canal. I seen pictures. I seen video of a guy in a wedding that they had to clean out the whole wedding stuff, and in the trash they found a bunch of Melon Valley. I mean, I'm hearing testimony. Georgia is doing a recount by hand right now. Pennsylvania got lawsuit. Michigan has lawsuit. There's a lot of diagram. Let me show you real quick so you can see the diagram where we're talking about the glitch that happened, that out of the sudden at 4 o'clock in the morning, there was a spike going completely up. Check this one. Well, guys, I hope that you are convinced. If you're not, that's okay. I still love you. Do your research, search. Do whatever it takes for you to discover the truth. I understand it's a little bit hard to swallow for some people, because just the fact that it goes against their political parties. I would have been very disappointed if this would have happened the other way around. So, you know, I kind of understand. But when it comes to political, you need to have an open mind. Especially when you are a Christian and you believe in the Bible and the end times and all of that. You can't be all in one side, you know. To give you my own personal opinion, I believe corruption is on both sides. I believe is the Democrats and the Republicans, because wherever the power follows, the corruption follows, you know, because it just leads to that open door. The Bible does say that, you know, things that are being hidden, just like sin, will be exposed to the light. And guess what? All of these things have been exposed. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter your political belief. At the end of the day, what goes around comes around. That's the worldly term that is being used. But those things are being exposed. And every day the news is going crazy and exposing so many things that is not even funny. Me personally, I cannot even catch up with everything that is going on. That's how many things are being exposed. The voting register, that amount of people that are supposed to vote, plus that amount that they have counted, has been surpassed. That amount, which is a turnover, it has been off the scale. That massive amount of fraud that was committed in 2020. It has been historical what has been going on. But you know what? Regardless of the situation that is going on we need to have faith in God. We cannot have faith in the voting system, in the politics, what this person say, what that person say. You know what I'm saying? I could only accept when an action is being committed. Like, for example, if a person says we are going to do this and it's actually done, then I could actually say, okay, this person did exactly what he said. I could only judge in action. I cannot judge by people speaking and people saying. And with that said and done, do not take everything that you hear in the news. You need to do your own investigation. You need to do your own research. You have to listen on both sides of the parties to gather all the information and to more or less kind of compete it against each other. You know, which is the more truthful, which is the one that has the proof, which is the one that has the evidence. I just show you a bunch of video. Even the main person basically said that fraud is going to be committed. He even said it himself because he has a mental problems and he just speak. He says things. He cannot even control it. And let me refer that, because having a mental problem doesn't mean that he's going to sit there and he's going to lie. What he said, it was the actual truth. And guess what? What he just said is exactly what just happened, with the massive amount of fraud that you would even believe in. Now, I have said it in the past. I predicted even in the past video, the last video actually that I made, I have perfectly said that China, Russia, and Iran will benefit if Joe Biden wins. And therefore, with all of this mail-in ballot, they were going to commit a lot of fraud. And that's exactly what happened. That doesn't mean I'm a prophet. That doesn't mean that I'm a psychic or anything like that. It was basically common sense. That's all it was. It was common sense. You know, we saw the action. We saw laws that were being changed days before the election, which even went against the Constitution of the United States. And by the way, the Constitution of the United States basically says that November the 3rd at 8 p.m., everything has to be stopped counting, and that will be the president of the elect. That means he will win. And then we will have a certification on December the 14th to certify. So every state is going to certify who is going to be the president candidate that the state has basically voted in. And that will predict the winner. I mean, well, not predict, but that will be the actual winner. We haven't gotten to December the 14th, but the news already reporting that Joe Biden won. That's why I have prophesied that Joe Biden was going to win the election by fraud, but however, Trump was going to remain in office for the next 4 years legally, because this was going to be a legal action. The video that I am referring to is called Why Did Joe Biden Win? Why did God allow Joe Biden to win? That was basically to capture a lot of people's attention. And the reason why God allowed this to happen is because we need to expose the corruption. If we cannot expose the corruption, we cannot fix the problem. If we cannot fix the problem, this is going to continue to go on. Listen to what this guy has stated so you can more or less understand.
My concern, Hans, if this isn't done right, if it's not done by the book, not about counting every vote, it's about upholding the Constitution, upholding state laws, decision by state legislatures, and so forth. If this isn't done right this time, even though it impacts this presidential election, we're going to have a disaster every 4 years. And it's going to get worse and worse with the litigation, with courts interfering with state legislatures, with violations of deadlines, with other parties not being able to be present when there's counts taking place. This stuff needs to be resolved now, does it not?
Yeah, it does. Look, I would compare this, I mean, to give you a simple comparison. Look, everyone would agree that in the middle of the Super Bowl, you know, one of the coaches for one of the teams should not go to the referee and say, listen, we need to change the rules applying to the current game. And that's exactly what has happened this year in the election process. We had lawsuits filed all over the country, and we had judges, both state court judges and federal judges, trying to change the rules, not just before the election, but in the middle of the election when the voting had already started early and through absentee ballots across the country, and relaxing quite frankly, the needed rules to maintain the security, for example, of absentee ballots. And that is just not the way you conduct an election. It's dangerous.
It's appalling. There's really two things here. Number one, the U.S. Supreme Court so far has failed to uphold the federal Constitution, and in doing so, put an end to some of these activities that are going on that benefit one party against another. It's really appalling. And until the Supreme Court steps in and puts its foot down and upholds Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, and upholds it without any ambiguity, this is going to continue, and it's going to raise questions about elections. But here's the other problem, or the second problem, Hans, and that is this. If you can't trust the numbers that are coming out in one state or another, or in one city or another, then the legitimacy of the presidency is on the line each and every time, is it not?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Yeah, and so...
Thank you guys for taking your time and to checking my video. Please subscribe, press like, share, trying to grow over here. Do not be surprised if they will try to suspend your account or say that this was a misleading information. Obviously, we're going against the deep state. We're going against all these people. They're a bunch of liars. The media, Hillary Clinton, China. So you could just imagine that a massive amount of battles that we are having. So anyways, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.